Welcome back to another episode of Python programming from beginner to programmer. In this episode, we're going to touch on a very visually attractive subject called visualization of data. Now, a lot of students and even practitioners think about visualization of data as a means of adding some visual attractiveness to the presentation and adding a little bit of spice and salt on top of the dish. But while that is not untrue, that is not completely wrong, the main aim of this topic on visualization of data is more towards the science of using our eye apparatus as a means of getting further insights, further implicit nature and understanding of the data. All right. So it is about borrowing our eyes as a means of detecting patterns, features, and other interesting aspects of this data cloud that up till so far, with all the algorithms and the speed of computer and all that stuff, uh, have not been able to allow us to do it easily or else reliably. So being able to see and visually ascertain certain important features and interesting aspects of the data cloud is the goal of visualization of data. So it is not just in terms of presenting things nicely. All right. So there is a little bit of a more scientific goal behind the subject topic involving visualization of data. So coming hotly after the study of NumPy Pandas libraries, the libraries that enable us to analyze and slice the data into various more meaningful and processing and more efficient for processing chunks, we are now able to expand our skill and ability on top of that understanding, right? So we will basically be building our visualization charts and graphs on top of data frames. Now, there are three main libraries that we want to discuss in the scheme of things, right? So it's still introductory in nature, but I would like you to really be aware, and if not, to actually intensively use these three libraries. The just very broadly speaking, the first library, first set of tools that we have in terms of using or coming up with charts and graphs will be Pandas itself. So Pandas itself does come with some sort of convenient functions. All right, I say convenient function because they are built on top of what is known as matplotlib pyplot library. So matplotlib is a very huge, extensive library, efficiently designed for plotting a lot of graphs, a lot of different kinds of graphs and charts for many, many different users, scientific use, business use, leisurely use, etc. So, but it is not oftentimes the easiest to use, although it's already very simplified. And if we are coming from data frame and series, pandas based kind of a context and environment, we have been always operating on data frames. We've been always playing around and extracting data by series. Then perhaps it is sort of more implicit, more natural that we say, "Hey, data frame, plot yourself." So that is why pandas does support a set of convenience functions, as in it is able to directly access the data from data frame and not have you kind of think about calling another library like pyplot within matplotlib and then say, hey, you know what, can you plot this series of data versus these other series of data? So it becomes very kind of procedural and requires a lot of our thinking and orchestration. So having built-in functions and methods that pandas for pandas to support natively, sort of, right? So behind the scene, pandas uses a lot of matplotlib and stuff, and actually share a lot of parameter passing with matplotlib. So we can actually influence those library details via pandas functions. However, having said that, if and actually most of the time when we are plotting very basic charts, I just want to see this histogram, I want to see that line, I want to see this time series, I want to see that pie chart, then it makes sense for us to simply, if possible, and indeed it is, for us to say, data frame, plot your lines. data frame, can you present yourself as a histogram? Sort of like directly tell the data frame to present itself. And that is exactly the value add pandas offers us. So next time when you hear about matplotlib, pyplot, you are actually using them. All right, but it is we're going to discuss the use of them via pandas. Now, inevitably, we're going to sort of spill over a little bit of the lingos and jargons coming from pyplot and matplotlib. That's because it's probably easier, more convenient, and a need to understand fundamentally pyplot, matplotlib and pyplot. How do they think about the charts and graphs? It will help us a lot in producing the kind of communication charts that we want. Now, notice I use the word communication because visualization of data, it's more than of entertainment value. It's more than just a peripheral. By the way, I have the data. By the way, we also show a bar chart. It's not by the way. It's intentional. It is communicative, and indeed, it is also very scientific about it. So we'll talk more about it when we uh, begin that discussion. All right. So still at the top level, we talked about Panda's list of functions and methods to support visualization of data frames. We also have, or you should also know, Seaborn, right? Okay, so Seaborn is another library that's built on top of Matplotlib and Pyplot. So do recognize that at the base, Matplotlib and Pyplot, they are there. They are the base layer, the engine that drives all the pixels from the data. So Pandas provides convenience. Seaborn is another attempt to uh, draw charts and graphs, yes, and it is built on top of Matplotlib and PyPlot, and is also able to understand Pandas data frames. So you can think of Seaborn as an extension from Pandas. Now, why do we need to learn about a different name? Why is the need to call it Seaborn and not Pandas 2 or Pandas Graph? That's more because they are maintained by two different organizations, two different sets of programmers, but their intention is to contribute to collective integration, right, while maintaining some sort of independence about what functions to add, what graphs to include and incorporate. Yeah, well, for us users, we just need to import, right? So we should know how to skillfully use pandas libraries of graphing and charting and Seaborn. And of course, in time, many more libraries will come. We can always expand from there. And by and large, safe to say that whatever future libraries you have, most likely it is going to be built on top of Matplotlib, PyPlot, and also be able to understand directly the data frames from pandas. Yeah, so learning Seaborn is one way to sort of pick up the skill to import another library written by someone else, some other organizations. Maybe it's fee-based, maybe it's free, we don't know, and be able to quickly consume, right? Understand and consume the library's functions to our advantage. And the third library that we want to discuss under the main subject of visualization of data is the Pillow library, more commonly referred to as the PIL. This basically deals with one layer kind of even below Matplotlib and PyPlot. And it's interesting because it is also very native to us humans. We like to draw on a canvas, a square, a rectangle, a circle. We would like to paste this thumbnail onto a larger board and two other thumbnails alongside, to compose a bigger chart. We may like to present a collage of images. We may like to place four differently computed charts from different times or different branches and stick them together to present to the headquarters office. So for all these kind of, I wouldn't really say low level, but they are really sort of dealing with the images and the dots, the pixels themselves, rather than as data producing a chart. So it's kind of like broadening our spectrum of ability to handle not just data to charts in a very rigid way, but also pictures in general, those that you capture from your mobile phones, images that you screenshot over, etc. All generalized images can be dealt with under the Pillow library. So with all these three libraries, we are going to be very versatile in terms of being able to visualize data, understand more about what certain visual aspects of data might lead us to, and thereby understanding our data more. Or else communicate data much more effectively by showing charts and graphs rather than just core dumping the whole table of numbers to our customers, managers, and so on. Yeah. So that would be the plan for this segment.